What's up, everyone? It's Showdown breakdown time. We are back. Bengals at the Ravens. Finally, an exciting Thursday night football matchup, something we'd be excited to target on the main slate if it was there. It's about time. With me to break it down, as always, multi-time millionaire winner, my man, Bobbywow.
Wow.
Like that, right? So, big showdown. Big showdown tonight, Bobby, and division rivalry. Ravens have been spectacular offensively this season.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, they've been the stuff. So, plenty of points potential in a game like this. Massive team total, 29.25. What's going on with T. Higgins?
The latest I'm seeing with T is that he is doubtful to play. I don't know if they fully confirmed him out yet, but it looks like it's very unlikely that he plays. It's very unlikely that Isaiah Likely plays.
That's big.
Confusing. And huge. So, yeah, the two really, really important pieces of news to confirm here, but it's looking like neither of those guys will play.
What about Jermaine Burton and the disciplinary stuff from last week?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I would be surprised if he didn't slot back in here this week. I think, Burrow's talked about it over the course of this past week. Sounds like, there's been some learning that's been going on, but hard to trust still. Like, you've still got Yoshi Voss, you've got Trent Irwin, you've got a bunch of tight ends that have been working in. So I would expect him to see some snaps, but nothing concrete, nothing trustworthy.
Crazy. Well, real quick, we're about to, we'll dive into this breakdown. I want to throw some congrats out to Jay Marquise, another showdown winner. Took down another fleet. This is his second takedown.
They say that looks familiar. Yeah.
His name is familiar. He's done it before. So I'd love to see it Monday night. We got, you get these showdown breakdowns going. It's always nice to see those wins. So hopefully we're going to produce a lot more wins tonight, guys. So let's dive right into this one. I'm going to go to the domination station, and we'll go to the sort. We'll go to the captain's tab here, and I'm going to sort by ownership.
Okay.
So we're going to break it down that way. We'll just look at who's going to be owned, where people are going, and we'll get your thoughts on it, Bobby. I'm going to make this just a smidge larger here so the people can see. You like that? The magic of YouTube TV here. So Lamar, Burrow, the two highest owned. Lamar by far, I get it.
I do get it. Now here's what's kind of interesting. So everyone, no one needs me to tell them that Lamar's playable on every slate. Obviously he's looked phenomenal for the vast majority of the season. He's throwing the ball, maybe the best he's ever thrown the football in his career. And piling up the touchdowns through the air.
It is the best.
It is the best. Yeah. And, so no reason to not play Lamar. But I feel like, more than a typical Lamar slate, there are paths to failure in the sense that there are guys that could legitimately outscore him, below him, the multiple guys. So
it's also very expensive. And there are, on these slates, when there's a lot of studs available, playing the most expensive guy really does limit one extra stud in your lineup. And that could be these are the types of slates where, somebody who puts up a 20 for 6K beats out a 28 from Lamar at,
exactly.
His price. You know what I mean?
100%.
I can see that. I don't have as much love for Joe Burrow in the captain spot. Seems a little spendy to me.
Man, he's been so good.
He's been
so good. He's worthy to be considered. I understand your philosophy is typically no QBs at captain outside of like a Lamar type. Yes. But Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow threw for 5 touchdown passes for the second time in 5 weeks last week. And he absolutely smashed in the same matchup against the Ravens in week 5.
You know who outscored him? Gesicki. There was a player who outscored him for cheaper. Let's deal with Derrick Henry. So to me, Derrick Henry, and I'm going to say the same about like Derrick Henry, maybe Chase Brown, but definitely Derrick Henry and Lamar probably don't mix as captain. And like I feel like Lamar and Derrick Henry have had good scores together. I'm just not sure that like Lamar captain with Derrick Henry in the lineup is a feasible lineup.
I'm making a rule today that excludes the other guy if one is captain, the other guy's not in the lineup at all. If Lamar's captain, no Henry in that lineup. If Henry's captain, no Lamar in that lineup. I will have some where they're jammed into the flex, both of them as the only two Ravens pieces. But even that's rare for me. So I agree. Lamar and Henry, very negative correlation overall. That said, I think Burrow and Chase Brown are very different. Chase Brown is much more of that pass catching type of running back, and he actually caught a touchdown pass last week. And again, back to that week 5 matchup where these two teams met earlier this season, he caught a touchdown then too.
Totally. Yeah, it is a little different. That's why I said it's a little less of a certainty. I think with Joe Burrow.
Yep.
It's much more linear with Lamar and Derrick Henry.
Agreed. Not to mention way more expensive.
I love Chase.
Jamar Chase. This feels like the Jamar Chase week. And I know I kind of love that he's let us down a couple weeks in a row now. I feel like, he's still going to get some ownership, but it'll be a little bit under where he would typically be for a slate like this. Man, he's the only player on this whole slate that's actually touched 40 fantasy points in a game this season. The dude's got elite upside in a game against a terrible passing defense where he smashed, when these two teams met earlier in week 5. You're going to hear me reference that a bunch. And that was with T. Higgins in. This could be a massive day for Chase.
It's almost a negative that T isn't there because Chase does, he doesn't, I don't think he gets that much better without T. Higgins there, but it doesn't matter. Chase is in such a good spot. Take a look at the power rankings for this game. First of all, Baltimore, 186 rushing yards, 272 passing yards, but Cincinnati, all passing yards, 272. And when we dive into the numbers, you're going to see that Baltimore is allowing 31 more passing yards per game above median, which you're like, is that a lot? Is that a little? Look at the column. Okay. They are the second worst team versus the pass in the National Football League as of right now. Like, that's just what it is. Now you might say, well, Baltimore, blah, blah, this or that. But we had a pretty good time targeting Baltimore with whatever quarterback has been playing against them the last few weeks. They are allowing a ton of passing. That's the argument for Burrow as well. But that really is the argument for Chase.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I
love me some Jamar Chase.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get away from, 20% Lamar. That's so obvious.
To me, and look, this is going to be a little bit of a bold take. Okay, just understand this is me, kind of the riskier side, tournament takedown side of the perspective.
What would Bobbywow do? This
is a great slate to limit Lamar to your flex on DraftKings and get more, build up more exposure, and even Henry. Limit Henry, maybe no exposure at captain on DraftKings as well, so you can up the exposure and get some leverage on guys like Jamar Chase and some of these cheaper guys that we haven't talked about yet that, like you mentioned, free up enough salary where they could get it done there too.
Yeah, I agree with it. Listen, it's going to be hard to win with Lamar at captain because everybody else is doing it also. So not saying it's bad. Put him in your cash lineup as a captain. He is the best raw points projection on the slate. Be very, very clear. Let's look at the number, right? Like, he's projecting for 38 points. Everybody else is 31 or 33. Everybody's less.
Yep. I'd cash plug and play for sure.
Everybody's less. But if you're trying to win this tournament, I don't mind it. These secondary guys can give you some leverage. Love Chase. Chase Brown, very good play as well. Although, again, Chase Brown is running into the good part of the Ravens defense.
They have been much better against the run. Look at that number right there. They've been much better against the run than the pass. But I do think the fact that Chase Brown is really heavily involved as a pass catcher does kind of mitigate some of that as well.
Still love Chase Brown. I'm just not sure. He's still a good captain, actually.
He's solid. I think he's a very good flex play across the board. He's viable at captain. I also think the other thing about Chase Brown is I do think there will be a little bit of a limitation because Khalil Herbert will be mixed in a little bit here. I don't think we can expect another week with 32 touches from Brown. I think that's probably going to come down a little bit. But that said, he's still viable.
The one funny thing about running backs is, you see a wide receiver like Deontay Johnson join a new team. It's really hard for them to get integrated. It takes a minute. It takes like a couple of weeks. You saw with DeAndre Hopkins, it took like a week. All right.
Amari Cooper too. He's still getting integrated.
Yeah, he's been hurt. But it takes him a couple of weeks. But the running back, the plays don't really change. It's like take the ball and run. Like there's not as a pass protector, that does require having been around a little bit, but to be a running back, doesn't take that much. They can come and start 2 days later. Like, it's not that big.
Did you see what Burrow said?
No.
It's a reporter after, like, what? So what is, Khalil going to do if he's out there and he doesn't know a play or if he's unfamiliar? And Burrow said, I'll lean over and I'll tell him.
Yeah, like
that's what they do. And let's not forget too, Khalil Herbert was a legitimate running back in Chicago. I mean, he was a very solid back for the Bears and was their RB1 last season. So this dude is not like a slouch. He's not a
talented player, but they like Chase Brown. Chase Brown is going to have the lead role, and Herbert was brought in because, listen, the other guy is on IR. They need a running back. They can't have nothing. So I get why they made the trade, but it wasn't because they weren't confident in rolling with Chase. It was just, hey, we need a guy behind him, and we don't have anything. So the Bengals are a team that are competing this year. They're not some team that is just playing out a season trying to see what they have. They're competing.
Yep.
Zay Flowers, big game last week.
Yeah, Zay has been much more consistent. You got 20 plus fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 weeks. But man, the thing with Zay is he's always priced in such a bizarre spot where no matter what, he is going to need a touchdown, at least one touchdown to end up as the optimal captain at that price. He scored two touchdowns last week, which is a very rare occasion. He's only scored a touchdown in 2 of 9 games this season. So last week was a big time exception to the rule. I can't get that excited about Zay. And, again, Deontay probably doesn't have much of a role at all, but the fact that he'll be mixing in as another body out there, I don't love that either. So look, he's viable. I can't accept 10% ownership for Zay Flowers as a captain. I want to be under that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I would not want to be over the field on Zay. As a matter of fact, so one of the things we talk about in DFS Army, and for those of you guys watching who are DFS Army subscribers, you guys know this. If you're going to do 20 max, if you're going to attack these tournaments, the showdowns with the 20 max approach, and it's not just showdowns, it's all slates, but really in the showdown, you shouldn't be spreading out your captain ownership that wide. 1 or 2, right? Go all in on a spot, and usually a leverage spot. So I'd rather that be not like the highest owned guy. I can pretty easily say it wouldn't be Flowers. Like I would choose somebody else for this one, not Flowers.
Yeah. And let's keep in mind too, as good as Zay has been, and he's been very good, over the last 5 weeks for the most part, he still only has 1 week with, or more than 25 fantasy points. And it was the second touchdown last week that finally got him to that 30-point upside, which is what he's going to need. I mean, look, he's 14-4. That's not cheap on DraftKings. So you're really looking at a guy that probably needs to score twice at this point. And that is it's a tall order for someone who's projected at 10% ownership.
Basically at his price, a 20 doesn't get it done.
No way.
That's what you kind of expect him to get you, or an 18, and it doesn't get it done, because if he's doing that, I'm pretty confident Lamar Jackson is massively outscoring that. And again, he's priced up, so he's still a little too close to the Lamar. They priced him up. If this is much more of a pricing play, it's just he's too expensive.
Exactly.
We know Jamar Chase has 45-point upside. He's not too expensive. But with Flowers, he doesn't have a 40 point. He's not Jamar Chase. He never has ever tasted even a 30+ point game in his whole career.
Outside of last week.
That was the one. That was his best game of his career, and it was just last week. And now it feels chasey. But I will say a guy who I do like, and I like at his price. They're underpricing him. It's a pricing error, Bobbywow, and that sucks Kevin in.
It sucks all of us in, man.
Yeah, you priced it wrong. I go to the supermarket, and my wife gets pissed at me because I come home with all this crap we would never even want. But it was just on sale, and I'm like, dude, what am I not going to buy a box of cereal for $1.50? She's like, we don't eat that shit. What are you bringing that home?
That's why I can't go to Kohl's. They got the Kohl's cash. It's all the. Oh my gosh.
I once walked around Kohl's for 2 hours with a wad of Kohl's cash in. I couldn't find anything that I actually wanted to buy in that place. I had the free money, Bobbywow, and I was like, I don't need another toaster. What am I doing here? What do they sell here? Waffle makers? I don't want that. I don't need another gadget. I couldn't find anything.
That's too funny.
Yeah. Is that an experience? Anybody else has been there where I just walked around Kohl's for like 2 hours, like, oh, I got free money. And I was so excited to go spend. And I was like, I don't want any of this shit. I just left.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I couldn't find a single thing in the whole damn store. I was like, I got to get my wife a Valentine's present or something. I think that's what I ended up doing. Like, don't buy like my wife some jewelry or some gift for for Valentine's Day or some like cockamamie, gift holiday that was coming up. Like, all right, I'll just go over there. Mark Andrews, 6,300 as captain. That means he's like 4K in the flex. Yeah, 4,200 with no Isaiah Likely.
No Isaiah Likely. He is way too cheap.
Dude,
way too cheap.
His 5 targets goes to 7. His 4.
See, that's what you would think. But here's my concern, okay? And I am all over Mark Andrews. I'm going to eat the chalk, but I don't know that I'm going to be over the chalk. And here's why. It's because number one, he's going to be very chalky.
30%.
I think he'll be 40.
Flex,
I think he'll be 40+%.
Yeah,
once Likely's officially ruled out, assuming he is, it's going to shoot up a little bit more. And look, last week, Likely didn't get hurt at the very end of the game. Like Likely only played 30% of the snaps. Andrews still saw only 2 targets. That's a game.
There's risk.
The Ravens put up 41 points. He saw 2 targets. So it's not like he's a lock. Like this isn't a lock and load play for me. But you're absolutely right. He's way, way, way too cheap. And he's been much better as of late overall. Last week was more of a blip on the radar compared to the last 3 or 4. So great play, but not a lock for me in tournaments necessarily.
He is going to be close to 40. Yeah, I mean, we're projecting him right now at 33, but that number could go up. It certainly will go up in any kind of high dollar, smaller contest as well.
I think a 40 or 50% exposure to him is perfect because he is a great play. He's way underpriced. Probably ends up getting it done. It doesn't take much. But again, you can match the field on him and get different elsewhere. That's my approach tonight.
Speaking of tight ends, Bobbywow, in the games that T. Higgins has missed so far this season, Mike Gesicki ends up getting slotted into the role as a wide receiver. Basically,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that last week, Gesicki got 10 targets, smashed, and I don't see what's different about this week and the Gesicki situation other than, if you got, I'll pull him up, but if you go back in his history, this guy as chalk is a little sketchy. This is what cost me last week. I was like, I'm fading that Gesicki chalk.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I didn't necessarily buy into the,
it seemed, 6 targets,
repeating that performance, but
I feel like it was donkey and it was just a luck move. I'm telling you, I think fading it was the right call. It just
Can I tell you why I'm considering being underweight again? It's because he still only played 36% of the snaps last week. Look, Eric All is out. Okay. So normally the Bengals would be rotating 4 tight ends in. I do think that is to Gesicki's benefit, but Gesicki saw the least amount of snaps, I think, of all the other guys. Drew Sample was on the field for double his snaps. And then you got Tanner Hudson on the field. Look, they throw to him when he's in. Clearly, he had 36% of snaps, still caught 10 passes in 2 touchdowns.
No, it wasn't 10. I was wrong. It was only 6 receptions. So to actually clarify what he actually did, it was only 6 targets, but they were monsters. 5 receptions, 100. I said 10 before. I hadn't looked, but remember, he got it done. I don't want to say he got lucky, but only 6 targets, 5 receptions. Dangerous. Yeah. Danger. 36% of the snaps. Again, Eric All's out, so he should see a little bit more than that, but he got a price bump. He's not cheap like Andrews is. So just, be cautious there. I would say for Gesicki, it's almost like, captain or bust for me, where I'll have some captain shares in case he blows up like last week, because it's either he's catching touchdown passes on those 6 targets or he's not. And if he's not scoring well. My take on this, Bobby, is we're showing him 30% in the flex, about 5% captain. And I'm not fading everyone. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to play. I want to be clear. I'm not going to not play Gesicki. I will be less than I will be below the ownership projection somewhat on him based on what you're saying. I felt like he's a little higher. This is a player that's been with this team. I get that, Burton was out last week. Maybe he fills that role. I don't know. But I don't want to play 40% owned Gesicki at 40%. I need to be below that. And if he blows up again, I'll take the hit.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing with him is, you got guys like, to me, Yoshivas, for example. He's a guy with very similar upside, but half the price and half the ownership. So there are other options. If you want to save salary, Gesicki's not the only guy that you can do it with.
It's fine. I was just looking at some Charlie Kohler props, some unders on him. It's 1.5 receptions. I think I'm thinking about taking the under on that.
Oh, that's dangerous, man.
Let's get to a couple of these other wide receivers, especially the Ravens wide receivers, Rashad Bateman and Deontay Johnson. And this one is so mysterious for me because, Deontay's new to the team. We don't really know. And we don't really know how it affects Bateman's role in targets having Deontay there. How do you see that all going down?
Yeah, I wish last week wasn't a blowout, because I think we'd have a little bit more of an idea of where Deontay's snaps are going to, who it's going to cost. But because of the blowout last week, everyone saw a reduction in snap count. So I would tend to think, Bateman and Aguilar are both at risk of losing some snaps to Deontay Johnson as the season progresses. That said, and you mentioned this at the top of the podcast, Deontay played only 17 snaps last week, and that was all part of the plan. Harbaugh seems to be more on the conservative side, in terms of integrating players in from different teams. When a new player comes in, he wants to make sure they're equipped. And we saw it with Henry at the beginning of the season, right? People were like, oh my God, he's not getting enough touches. And even Harbaugh was like, he's not coming in here to get 25 touches a game, 30 touches a game. But eventually that changed. I think we're going to see a similar trend with DJ, but we're not there yet.
I put a tweet out when Deontay was traded. I said, of all the places Deontay could have been traded to for fantasy owners, this was the worst by far. You could not have had a worse landing spot for Deontay Johnson than on this low volume, passing volume Ravens offense. It's just not his. It's good for the Ravens. I'm not saying it's a bad move for the team. It's a great move for the Ravens, but for my fantasy production from Deontay, worst case scenario.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. So for me in DFS, on a Showdown slate, there's two places to go in a situation like this, because we don't know the specifics. One, you could white knuckle it and be like, oh, I know, I'm so stuck, I'm lost. Or you can zoom out a little bit and just take a look at the macro. Is this an overall benefit, for the other Ravens receivers? And, does DJ have a big role where he can score some points here tonight? The macro to me says no. I think it's overall, it hurts, the DFS perspective of these pass catchers on the Ravens, another body in there who's a legitimate pass catcher. And I don't think we see 75%, 80% snap count for Deontay Johnson this week or, even next week. So
you might not see that
tough.
Period ever.
It's tough. I think, he's a guy that could catch some passes. He's plus 280 to score a touchdown, but his props are ugly. He's projected at 2 catches and 20 yards right now. So DraftKings, he's playable in the flex, as a very, very punt type of play. We won't see much ownership, too much ownership, I don't think. And then FanDuel, he's priced up. To me, it's almost impossible to get to him on FanDuel unless you're trying to get really silly.
And Deontay has never been a touchdown scorer. He's not needed on FanDuel anyway. I'm looking at the ownerships here, and I'm trying to compare Deontay with Bateman even lower. So the field is just down on Bateman and Deontay now with both of them on the team.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, both coming in at around 15%, which is for a showdown one level above the turtliest of Drew Samples in that zone of 15% as well. That's the level of sort of not owned that these guys will be. I will say both of them, but I would say more so Bateman is a very viable tournament play that's going to be super low owned. He's not exciting. He's unsexy. You're putting him on your bench in your fantasy football league right now. You're like, I'm not playing that guy. But I think he's a viable showdown pay down option.
He's a boomer bust. He's a guy that could, get 4 targets and, one of them could go for 90 yards and a touchdown. The other one go for 50 yards. And all of a sudden, holy crap, Rashad Bateman at 1% ownership is at the top. But yeah, you're right. Not a guy that you need to invest a ton in, even to get leverage. So I fully agree. I think you want to mix these guys in a little bit, but yeah, it just makes it tougher across the board to be excited about Ravens wide receivers who we already weren't very excited about to begin with.
Yeah. Justice Hill, a bit of a GPP showdown turd as well. Not the kind of player you're ever really going to play in your fantasy lineup or in a DraftKings full slate lineup, but every once in a while he pops off, gets a reception.
Yeah, the concern there is, you got Keaton Mitchell, who looks like he's going to be activated tonight. And so to me, Keaton Mitchell's a better player, but you can't just like replace Justice Hill, who's been very good in that role for this team. So again, this is a situation where I think it gets messier before it gets clearer. And it just makes Justice Hill a little bit, harder for me to pull the trigger on. But again, he's been very good. He's been involved quite a bit. And he's an option in tournaments, but Keaton Mitchell, man, if those two guys are going to share some snaps, it just gets uglier.
How much do you think Keaton Mitchell weighs?
Weighs?
Yeah.
190 pounds.
Yeah, it's something like that. He's very small. Irrelevant to anything other than like he won't be in there. Justice, they've actually given him some up the gut carries too. That's really Mitchell is more of a scat back only, like he doesn't have that skill set to replace Derrick Henry, for example, where Justice Hill will get the snaps if Derrick Henry comes out of the game.
Right. And that's a problem to me though. A lot of Justice Hill's upside comes from the passing game, right? Because you point per reception, the little dump offs, that's where he gets hurt. So hurt in the DFS side of things. So yeah, it's just tough.
Yeah. Mitch, I don't know if Mitchell's going to actually, I think it's a little soon for Mitchell anyway. I'm not going to worry too much, but even without that, Justice Hill on a standalone play, again, always really sketchy aside from everything else. He will be in the game. He will get snaps and they'll throw to him a couple times each game. He's in there in the 2-minute drill. Derrick Henry is not in the game in passing situations. In obvious passing situations, it will be Justice Hill in the game. And we saw with Samaje Perine, I think it was on Monday. Was that Monday?
Yep.
It's just take one to that back and that's it. And he could be in the nuts.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the thing I look for in showdowns is if you're giving me more reasons to not play you, I'm going to listen. Keaton Mitchell is unplayable to me. Virtually unplayable. Yeah. Justice Hill, though, even if Keaton Mitchell only plays 10 snaps, it's just that's another reason to potentially not play you. So it's tough for me to get there.
We're in the turd zone here in the ownership rankings category. And so I'll throw some of these turds out there. I mean, Charlie Kolar at 600, I think playable turd.
Certainly playable turd. He's an option.
He has a prop, so that's a playable turd right there.
I mean, he's going to be on the field for half the snaps. Charlie Kolar.
The Ravens with this tight end crew, especially with Likely out. Yeah, I think you'd have to see more Kolar now.
He's more viable than you think Kolar is.
I didn't even think Kolar was a pass catching tight end. I thought he was really more of a blocker, but they've thrown it to him the last couple of weeks.
We were actually on him last year too. He had a couple breakout games and we called it here at DFS Army.
You did. I'm sure that sounds like a Bobbywow call.
He's got some hands and he's caught a touchdown this season too. So he's $600. He's viable at that salary.
Yeah, the price is crazy low. You got Yoshi Voss as well. Are we accounting for Burton at all? 0.27. So it is not like the ownership does not like Burton. So it looks like, I guess, Yoshi Voss will get that WR2 role.
I think Yoshi Voss will definitely end up with the WR2 role. Burton will play. I just don't know that he's going to see, a significant number of snaps. It's really between him and, Trent Irwin and even Kendrick Pryor last week took his snaps. So I think Yoshi Voss will be the WR2 no matter what. I think he'll see 80% to 90% of the snaps. And look, he's also a guy that's let us down the last couple of weeks, was a little better last week. To me, he's the guy to get leverage over the field on. Yoshi Voss at 3,400.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like people are going to be excited to play him here. He's getting that 15% ownership. He will be the WR2, but the best part about him is the price.
And he is another guy, he's another guy that to me, you could absolutely make the case for him at captain at that price. So very tournament play, GPP only, but at that price, he can score a touchdown. He can catch 5 or 6 passes. And so he's viable at captain in deeper tournaments.
Going through the turd zone here, sort of the low end plays. Do you have Khalil Herbert's cheap? I'm just gonna, Charlie Jones doubtful. I'm gonna uncheck him, right? So Keaton Mitchell, any interest at all?
if you're rolling out 150 lineups, I think you probably want 5% of Keaton Mitchell maybe just in case, but otherwise no.
Yeah, Jermaine Burton.
I'll have a little bit of interest. Probably get similar story, but maybe 10% at most.
That's a lot. 10%
at most.
Yeah. Ricard, no.
God, he's on the field so much. Oh, he's the type of guy that will just he'll score in the showdown. You'd be like, gosh,
Ricard is that turd that you needed.
If you're playing 150 lineups, all I'm saying is just get a couple of percentages of points of Ricard in there because he plays so much. He's on the field a ton. The last time Ravens were on the showdown slate, they threw a long pass to him when he dropped it. So just make sure you have a couple shares if you're rolling out a bunch of lineups.
And LeBrier here makes an interesting point. Couldn't you just see after the suspension last week with Burton, him coming in? Because last week, Burton was supposed to actually slide into the WR2 role. The whole expectation was it wasn't going to be Yoshivas. It was going to be Burton. But then some personal thing happened, and they benched him for the game. Now, I don't think they're probably going to reward him, but wouldn't it be interesting if he does have the redemption game? They're like, all right, get in there now, and he has this big game.
I think it's certainly possible. Yeah, you definitely, of all the guys we talked about so far, he's the guy you want the most exposure to.
Yeah, I think Burton is somebody, and I'm with you, LeBrier, and with you, Bobbywow. I think Burton, as much as I have no expectation of it, as I'm running my 150, I'm going to push that percentage up. I'm going to push that percentage up a little bit. That could be that guy. He could get a 0. Great chance he will get a 0. But if I've ever won, when I've won these tournaments, when we've won showdowns, it's almost always because we take some 4% owned guy and you go 25% on them, and then you win.
And that's the thing. Okay, that's the thing to stress. I'm so glad you brought that up. It's all about leverage. Okay, and with sub 1% ownership. Okay, I think it'll maybe a couple percent by the time this thing locks up. You don't need 50% of Jermaine Burton and destroy half your lineups. To get leverage. 15% gets it done in most cases. So it's very easy. I call it low stakes leverage because you don't have to throw them into a bunch of your lineups to get an advantage over the field. 15 to 20% is plenty.
Just this past Monday, probably I'm assuming that was where Marquise won it, but just this past Monday, I can't remember the Irving. It was a $1,100 wide receiver for Tampa, and he caught a touchdown on one of the last plays of the game. He ended up scoring a 7.1 for 500 or 1,000. The cheapest player with the best score. He got a 7.1.
Raheem Jarrett, I think, or Jarrett.
What was the name?
Was it Raheem Jarrett?
Yeah, Raheem Jarrett. One of those guys. It wasn't Raheem. It was the other
Ryan. No, it was Ryan Palmer or Ryan something. Yeah, I know who you're talking
about.
It
wasn't Raheem. It was the other guy. It doesn't even matter. The point was, every lineup I had with that guy was like they were lined up, and I look, Ryan. Every lineup that I had with that guy just shot to the top of the leaderboards because the rest of the lineup was super chalk, and that was a reminder. He was only 2% owned in the slate, and so if I had 10%, man, I got a lot of lineups that. Of that 10%, I had a bunch that had the rest of the mix pretty good to where it could get there. So, Scotty Miller's brother, Ryan Scotty Miller. There it was. Yeah.
Yes, there we go. And these games that are projected as, higher totals, that does increase the chances here that one of those guys shows up because there's more offensive plays being run, more scoring, more potential for more injuries even on the field. Yes, exactly. I fully agree with you on that.
It's a combination of two things that get you there. It's, yes, this turd that's low owned gets a touchdown.
But also the guys up top.
Well, them doing well also, that helps because the cheaper guy allowed you to afford them.
Exactly.
But the third component is that the turd who gets the touchdown has to be really cheap because it has to be, you have to save enough by playing that guy and and allowing me to, hey, I got one more stud in there. And you saw on Monday, all of the studs went crazy. Everybody who was a pay-up option or most of the pay-up options went bananas. That was a crazy high-scoring game. And I think that's what we're setting up for here. I think we're setting up for a high-scoring game where lots of fantasy points are going to go around. And so you'll see a lot of flame emojis on the DraftKings board. So it's that person who catches the turd for 200 or 6 of the Patrick Ricard touchdown. That makes so much more difference when slates when you don't have when it's not a high scoring slate, it doesn't always matter. Like I got the best $400 guy, but it didn't even matter because you don't need that guy. Everybody else scored more.
Yep.
Good times. Any other thoughts on the turd zone here? Anybody that you kind of want to be under or over, or any thoughts on it?
I'm still, just to emphasize it again, I'm shocked that Yoshivas is so. I know it looks like it's high, but it's really low for $3,400. That dude's going to be on the field a ton. He's got chemistry with Burrow. I think Trenton Irwin is another guy to consider. We talked about that cheap guy going, scoring a touchdown pass. Irwin is a candidate. He actually had a target in the end zone and dropped it last week. So he's another guy you'll want some exposure to. And if you're running a bunch of lineups, he's 1,200. And to me, even the tight ends, as gross as it is for the Bengals, like a Tanner Hudson, I think you're definitely going to want exposure there in mass multi-entry. So if you're building more than 20 lineups, be sure you've got exposure to the non-Gesicki tight ends on the Bengals as well.
Yeah. And if you're building, again, I'm going to do another reminder. If you're building 20 lineups, if you're not doing 150, because we give a broad breakdown of this stuff, if you're doing only 20, you will not win. If you try to spread out your captains, you just won't. So just use one. Suck it up. Sag up and use one. Worst case, use two. Never, ever use more than two quarterbacks or captains in 20 max. You're just going to throw away the money, so it's not worth doing it. Mm-hmm. If you're using the optimizer, for sure. Let's build a lineup here, Bobbywow.
Let's do it.
Onside kick, the like button. There it is. Love it, LeBrere. And also a reminder, of course, guys, DFS Army we're in peak season right now, Bobbywow.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It truly is.
We're 25 years old in the best shape of our lives. Christmas around the corner. All sports, college basketball, college football.
And basketball.
Yeah, and basketball just started. It's a nonstop DFS. I can't play college sports. I mean, in New York, they don't let you play.
That's brutal. That's so brutal.
You can't play the college sports in New York. But a college sports going nonstop. NHL, NBA on fire. By the way, I don't understand how people do NBA DFS without DFS Army. I can't do it. I need to be in the chat. I need to be in the Discord. I've got to be in the news and notes channel. I need breaking news as it happens, and that's what you get. And I need a quick analysis. Hey, this guy's out. Who's playing? Oh shit, that guy is a giant 7'9", Eastern European monster, and he scores 3 points a minute. Get him in your lineup. Like, I can't pronounce his name, but it's Goga Bagazzi. He's in my lineup.
Yeah. I got hypnotized. I was gonna play this last night. And I'm in the NBA breaking news channel, and I think it's madness. One of the coaches just posted, boom, 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 over. I'm like, well, like I had to slow down. I'm like, this is crazy. This is so important to this. Yes, so I fully agree. I don't know how anyone does it outside of a community like this.
To me, the updates, and I know from the side of having people doing it, it is a full-time task just gathering that news together and regurgitating it to the users, but also quick analysis, points per minute, all that stuff. So make sure to check out DFS Army. We appreciate you guys watching these videos, and we'd love to have you on the team. Promo code Geek is 10% off any of our plans. Core 4 is just the Core 4 sports. That's probably the most price effective one. Gets you in there for everything. But we like VIP if you want to be doing sports outside of the mains. So if you want to get into NASCAR, MMA, college sports, soccer, it's my boy Ash on the soccer team, Nolan. We got Europeans. We had to import Europeans for our soccer breakdowns.
It's actually a problem because the degenerate side of me will go over and try. Like I tried, like gaming once. We have advantage as the gaming guy. Oh yeah, and I won. I had no idea what I'm doing, but I'm following the coach and I won. I'm like, crazy fun, and now I'm like, how do I fill my day with that?
Yeah, you gotta wait. Late night.
Almost a problem.
3 a.m. esports. That's what I do. By the way, when I'm degenning at 1 o'clock at night, I'm like, let's see if there's an esports slate, League of Legends tonight. Let's go. Where's? So we got it all going on here. Promo code Geek. You get in there. The problem, what I thought you were going to say is the problem with the British and Scottish people doing the soccer breakdowns is when they speak, I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. if you're from London, I get it, but if you're coming from Manchester, I have no idea what you're saying. Just sounds like grumbles and mumbles.
Need that in writing. Yeah.
It's all grumbles and mumbles. I have no idea what they're. I pretend like I'm like, I had a meeting with Ash one time. I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I was just smiling and nodding. Like, bro, just type to me in the Discord.
My whole life has been devoted to sports, and I've never felt like less of a sports person than just learning so many things from Ash and the soccer team. It's just like, oh my gosh.
My dad loves soccer. He's always watching soccer games. I should have gotten into just to hang with Pops and watch the games together. But he won't watch a football game. Almost. He won't watch a football game with me. He wants to watch soccer games.
I can't do a 0-0 draw. You get rid of that, you can bring me to soccer.
All right, let's build a lineup here. Who is our favorite? Like, I think it's probably to me the funnest guy to build around is Andrews, but it's almost like cheating.
I think let's build around Chase. I think just for pricing.
Okay.
One of the higher price options.
All right. Jamar Chase in the lineup. Let's go pass heavy game plan. But Jamar Chase is in there. I kind of like Burrow with Chase in the same lineup, but that's expensive. And I don't know if it's a definitive. Let's see how salaries work. All right. We got Chase and Burrow.
Andrews.
Underpriced Andrews. That's what we're calling him. Underpriced Andrews.
I really like, Yoshivas, but Jermaine Burton as well as more of a tournament piece down here in the savings.
Burton is a little turny crazy, but let's go. I
like Yoshivas a lot. I really do.
Let's go Yoshi with this one. Leaves you 7,900, and there's good options up here. So Gesicki's hanging out.
What if you go Lamar?
Oh, expensive.
What do we got left?
4,400 left. That takes it's ugly from here. You're talking Drew Sample, Ravens defense, maybe?
It barely I was hoping we get to a kicker. It boots us out of that zone.
No kicker. So you know how you can get to the kicker by rolling the dice YOLO style with Burton.
Yep.
If we wanted Burton here, that puts you in even Justin Tucker range, or L McPherson.
I love Tucker. Yeah, give me some Tucker here.
Boom. Fair enough.
It's a pretty dang good lineup right there, man.
Yeah. Burton, I'm putting this lineup in. I like this lineup enough to actually place it. But you guys get the idea. The cheaper we go, of course, at captain, the more the more studliness we can get into that lineup. And if you add Burton in there, you really, look at all the studs. 1, 2, 3 super priced studs. Another stud that's just incorrectly priced. We could have gotten Gesicki in there too and did a whole different thing. So lineup construction is going to be a lot of fun tonight, guys. Really, there's just so many studs available. And Bobby, this actually, for me, this ramps up the idea that, Henry and Lamar, too expensive to go together. One or the other can't be both.
Yep, agreed.
It could be, but it's unlikely.
If they're together, it's only, in the flex, and it's going to be rare for me.
Yeah.
The other way to build with that other lineup is, Derrick Henry over Lamar, and then you can get Yoshivas over Burton. But again, just another way to build.
We're going to be able to skin this cat. Why are people looking for all these different ways to skin cats? What is that? There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. Do you ever hear that expression? Who's skinning a cat? Why is that an expression? Look that up. Somebody look that up for me. What the fuck? There's more than one way to skin a cat. What? Why do I know that?
I don't know.
Have you ever heard that? Did I just make that up?
I've heard that before.
That is a thing, right? That's an expression. What the hell kind of shit is going on?
Skim a cat. There it is. There's the issue.
Skim a cat? Oh, yeah. Ash knows it. It's not. What the hell means? What are you skimming a cat? What does that mean? People from West Virginia.
I don't know. I don't know.
Eating the dogs.
Eating the cats. That's where I was afraid you were going to go.
They're killing Peanut. What about Peanut, Bobbywow? Don't forget about Peanut. Let's talk to fans.
It's on
Peanut.
FanDuel.
Peanut. I think about Peanut every day.
Peanut Tillman.
Not that Peanut.
Peanut Punch.
Not that Peanut. None of those.
That's a Peanut I think about.
Peanut the squirrel. I think of him every day. Every day.
Right.
DraftKings tournament. We want single game. FanDuel. Let's go. All right, let's crack this bad boy open. And what do we know about FanDuel? FanDuel, we like our running backs. We like our quarterbacks. They outscore pass catchers more often than not, unless the pass catcher is like Mark Andrews and he gets 2 touchdowns. Or it gets set like a tight end.
Yeah, I just can't envision
2.
Mark Andrews getting there. I think there's too much scoring in this game. You know, you talked about Gesicki last week putting up a bunch of points, but he doesn't even get there on FanDuel. So I think it's running backs, quarterbacks, and Jamar Chase.
There's something going on here on the screen, Bobbywow, and I haven't looked at. Talk about a first look. I haven't looked at FanDuel at all until just this second, and I'm noticing that the salaries are really low. Like Lamar at 15.5 is massively lower than even an average quarterback would be. What the hell's going on?
I think on Monday we were looking at 17.5 for the highest price guys. Yeah, that's a big difference.
What is this? These prices are bizarre. Is this just
scrunched together? They are scrunched together too, though. So you're not getting as much, like Zay Flowers at 12K is not cheap.
I mean, did FanDuel change something? I think, is there anybody? All right, let me start here. Is there anybody even viable under these kickers that is going to open up some salary for us?
Yoshibas is intriguing. I think the sneaky play, the silly for the milli play down here is Khalil Herbert at 8K.
Oh, that's gross. If that gets it done, I will get you out of your turd hat bet for tomorrow, and I'll wear it. Because right now, as of right now, you're wearing a hat, bro.
I am? What was it?
Yeah. We bet Winston versus Flacco last week.
Winston scored more points?
Yes, because Flacco got a 5. Winston outscored Flacco.
Okay, he was so bad. We almost had to void that bet.
I'm
so horrible.
Void it because they both stunk. All right, void it. They both stunk.
That's funny. I forgot. No, I'll wear it.
No, don't wear it. Don't. They both stunk, and no one deserves to have won that bet. No one deserves it. But I was like, at least I don't have to wear the hat.
My point stands, though. Winston stinks. There we go.
Winston's good, man. He's gonna have so many good games. I can't wait till next week to get Winston back in my lineups. Is there anybody? Burton, I mean, you need a touchdown score. So I guess down here, all I can really see is like maybe Kohler for the miracle touchdown, Burton sample, like these hope for a miracle touchdown guys.
Yeah, I think the guys you outlined are probably the lowest, punts I'd go. Khalil Herbert, Justice Hill, because they're running backs, option, they're in play.
Every one of these options stinks.
Yeah, but and you probably don't have to go here because just let's start building a lineup. Look at the tight ends. Both tight ends are so cheap.
That's why I was looking at the salary. So let's start at the very top. So I mean, a lineup like this, my first choice is going to be, of course, Lamar Jackson.
We'll start with Lamar and Andrews.
Lamar, Andy touchdowns,
and now you go, Burrow, Gesicki. Right,
it's not going to work. Well, let's see here. I think this Burrow has to almost be not with Gesicki because we can't get Chase at that point, and now we're stuck.
So go Burrow, Chase, and then we can.
I'd want Burrow with Chase, and then I want to see if what can be done. 7,500 Yoshibas, Justice Hill.
I'm telling you, Yoshibas is the guy that I'll have the most exposure to on the slate. I don't follow me. I don't want people to get burned.
I'm literally going to my fantasy teams, my redrafts, and I'm swapping Yoshibas in right now, based on the Bobbywow.
Well, look, it's price oriented too. Okay, so let's not get too excited in season long here.
It's either Yoshi or Burton. Somebody's getting the role.
Yes, both those guys. In theory, if Burton is truly back, both those guys will be on the field a ton because T. Higgins is out.
Burton has the highest upside. Yeah, I don't know. I think Gesicki's getting the Higgins touches, to be honest. But I like this lineup. I don't mind this. I like this look. Lamar to Andrews. You got Burrow to Chase and Yoshi. It's so coordinated. It's so correlated.
I might even switch Burrow to MVP in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be Burrow MVP instead. I could pull Lamar and slap Derrick Henry in there. There's 10 different ways to work this. I don't mind FanDuel tonight. As a matter of fact, I would say that this is one of those slates where I think it's okay to go back to I don't always like to play FanDuel for Showdown. I usually don't like to play it. But I like this one for FanDuel a little bit.
Yeah, and then you can get those guys we talked about. You can mix them in as much as you need to because, it's relatively straightforward. And look, I think Burton is, people talking about Burton a lot. I think he's got good upside. But just trying to emphasize, like, both these guys are, if Burton plays the full complement of snaps again, both these guys, Yoshi and Burton, are going to be on the field for 75+% of the snaps.
That's how it's going to work. The one who suffers in that scenario is Trenton Irwin.
Yes.
Who doesn't play.
Exactly.
Even if Burton is in the game, you're thinking it's Yoshi and Burton, and it'll be Irwin who doesn't play. Yeah.
Yes, because with T. Higgins out, either Yoshi or Burton is going to be the WR3. So, and you mentioned Burton, maybe the WR2. So either way, both those guys, the Bengals play 3 wide receivers on the majority of their sets. So we'll see those 3 guys primarily.
Who do we think loses the most snaps on the Ravens because of Deontay Johnson?
I think it's both.
It's like Aguilar,
Bateman, and Aguilar.
Just a mix. It just muddles them all.
Maybe even Bateman more. I don't know. It's tough. It just muddles everyone.
It's a lot easier for us guys when they play 3 games and we can see the snap counts. But when it's new, you don't really know. You're not 100% sure. So you're kind of guessing a little bit. I'm not really sure. Yeah. I think Aguilar, I don't know. Or do they pull Bateman out? Because the Ravens are running, even more so, the Bengals are running 3 tight end like a ton and 2 tight end almost all the time. The Ravens are doing that a lot. So,
I think the important thing to remember is, all their floors are 0 virtually. And if you zoom out, to the opposing point, all those guys can put up, a decent score at their price on 1 or 2 plays. So keep that in mind.
So your turd of the night is Yoshi?
I think so.
I like the call. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the Showdown Breakdown Thursday night football special. Guys, we're rocking on the DFS Army YouTube channel up to 30K subs. Help us out if you're watching this and you're not subscribed yet by smashing that subscribe. I'm trying to get there by the end of the NFL season. So help me out. Let's fulfill the goal of 30K subs here in the DFS Army YouTube channel. Of course, if you're not signed up to DFS Army, promo code Geek, 10% off any sub that we do. So I just give you my personal code. That's only for my friends and family. And I consider every one of you guys who are watching this, except for the trolls, part of my friends and family. And the trolls, I like you too. And I appreciate your trolling. I really do. I get laughs from it.
We need the trolls. They
don't
balance things out.
Don't have to talk about my looks as much as you do. I think it's weird. But in general, we appreciate all of that. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow for tournament tactics. You know what's going to be here? We got Burns coming in the Shark Lab. We got Josiah coming in here, bringing that tournament perspective. Of course, Bobbywow's coming back for that. We might even get some special guests on some tournament tactics later this year. There's a special guest that's been waiting in the wings. We're trying to get them in there. Little up north action, a little Minnesotan, and Wisconsin or Minnesota or somewhere, one of those states. Yep. I don't know which one. They're all the same to me. I'm from New York. In New York, it's all the same. Just so you know, Bobbywow, there's no difference. We don't differentiate between Michigan, Wisconsin, or Minnesota. We send our kids to colleges over there. We call that where my kid is going to college.
Up north. Yeah.
Nah, it's either University of Wisconsin or University of Michigan. Like, that's where they go. One or the other. The smarter ones go to Michigan.
Fair enough. Okay.
Sorry. The really smart but slightly less smarter ones, they go to Wisconsin. All right. See, I said not to send. Now the hate is really going to. You know what happens is we get that causes feedback to happen in the video. It goes up to the top of the algorithm. All right.
And a lot of Badgers and Gophers. We'll put it that way.
Listen, my kids in the South, I wasn't sending them to the cold. Gators, chomp, the best of them all. No?
I love the Gators. I do love the Gators.
Can we consensus that the Gators are better, like the more awesome than the Badgers or any other?
I'm not willing to consensus you on that live, but
because you're from there.
You have my support.
You're from that area, so you can't say anything. You probably have friends.
No one cares about me. I'm an Illini fan. I'm an ant. I'm insignificant.
Guys, it is a big showdown night tonight. I'm excited for this one. Be thankful that we finally got a beautiful game to watch, not just tonight, but all of these primetime games are really good, including the Sunday morning's game and Sunday night. Everything's great. Really, really good week. For me personally, Bobbywow, you know how it is. We don't get to watch the full games of every single one. We watch the full games of these showdowns, and then we watch the red zone, and you can't really watch full games during football. And then afterwards, I watch all the plays, but not the full game experience. So it's nice to have some good ones this week.
Yeah, less stressful. You know, you're with the showdown lineup too. You're in it until the end. You don't even look. You don't even want to look till the end. And so it's just fun. You're overweight, and I got like Charlie Kohler. He scores a last minute touchdown. You're like, oh my god. It's the best. I really like being relaxed with these one gamers.
And again, it's a reminder that how do you win this? It's not by having a lot of Lamar. Everybody's got a lot of Lamar. It doesn't help you. It helps you when you have Scotty Ryan Miller, and he gets his captain, and you're at 12%, and the field is at 2%, and all of a sudden, 8 of your lineups shoot up into the top zone. So make sure to do that. Make sure to focus in on whatever turd you like, and be right about it. And that's how you win one of these. And don't be afraid to be wrong. Good luck, everyone. We will see you tomorrow on Tournament Tactics. Take care.